too small, I got big dreams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pun Fun, where we have fun with the puns. My name is Ryan, and we're going to check out episode 1 of the Marvel series Moon Knight. If you haven't yet seen episode 1 of the Marvel series Moon Knight, please be sure to do so, as there are major spoiler alerts ahead. So first of all, we're going to check out all the comic book source material that we see within the show. So I mean, there's people that used to work for him that is now his boss, and there's like characters like the statue guy. You're probably wondering like why would they devote some time to this character. We're actually going to get into that, because who may serve a purpose to Stephen Grant may not serve the same purpose to Marc Spector. So that's going to be important to understand. We're also going to check out the Goldfish, why that's a big key moment. Also, how is this going to portray certain elements as we go on further within the series. And again, there's some elements that we saw prior to this, so it's all you need to know before the show. The Moon Knight series, which is an episode, I'll link it up here. If you already subscribed, you probably already saw it. If not, you can always subscribe. This way you stay on top of everything at all time, anytime. But yeah, that episode basically broke down kind of the backstory to, who is Moon Knight, who is his characters, how he has 5 personalities. So one being Marc Spector, one being Stephen Grant. You also got Jake Lockley, you also got Mr. White, and you also got Moon Knight himself. So Moon Knight is not actually Marc Spector putting on the suit, but it's actually his own personality, which is Khonshu taking over and, beating the crap out of that, I guess, Jackal or Anubis. Maybe not Anubis. And I think Anubis would have been more like of a bigger presence, so probably a Jackal. Anyways, that all being said, we're also going to get into some of the speculations and Easter eggs that we see throughout the show. And lastly, we're going to talk about stuff that we have predicted for the next episode. Now let's get into it. First of all, we're going to talk about Arthur Harrow. That's quite the tongue twister. So Arthur Harrow is a character that we do see in the, obviously in the Moon Knight series, but only for like 1 or 2 books. He isn't a main character. He isn't a very specific character. He just is, and he's in crazy amount of pain, and he basically is trying to find a way to, numb all of this or remove all pain altogether. And in this series, we see him take a shot, break the glass, wear the sandals with a bunch of, glass being crunched as he's walking along, obviously causing, all kinds of, damage to his feet. However, does he feel the pain? Probably. And what is the purpose to this? So there's going to be a few elements to this. It could be that he is punishing himself before being judged himself, before the eyes of Emmett. So this is the beast boogeyman type thing that we saw, or they mentioned basically, which is the head of the croc, the forearms of a lion, and then the back of a Hip Hop Anonymous. And yeah, maybe himself he has not been judged, and this is one of his ways to kind of pay for his sins before going into judgment. It could also be that he doesn't feel anything, because maybe he is also being the vessel for Emmett already. We'll get into that in a couple seconds. In terms of there's definitely a cult vibe to him. Obviously he has a following. He gave the command, they all bowed down or went, I was gonna say go down, but this is basically bowed down to him. So they may have just plucked this character who doesn't have high importance in the comic book and is repurposing him, kind of like how we said for the Miss Marvel series. So they may have some characters that didn't have big significance, but in this case, the MCU, they may, give it a bigger development or more chaotic, purpose within that series. Anyways, this all being said, he also mentions about Emmett, having the power or, was able to help the universe as well. It's not just bad because it was seen at the funerals, and this is where your fate was decided if you initially were destroyed or if you were able to go on, on your journey. Now, he does mention Hitler. He does mention, the Armenian genocide. He doesn't mention Hitler's, potential genocide. He could be because, as we've seen in the Hawkeye series, they thought, or some of them think that, maybe Thanos was right. So he may have a opinion about it, a political, opinion about it, and maybe bias to it. So now we're going to talk about some of the minor characters. So in this case, we're going to talk about, for example, Donna. So Donna is his boss in the souvenir shop, and she's a great boss. She's all about, pushing those numbers and making sure he puts, he does his facing and everything. But in the comic books, it's actually the opposite. It's actually Marc Spector who is her boss. Now, it could be the MCU is taking this twist and having, those roles flipped. It could also be that Donna is actually, very much aware of what Stephen Grant is up to, and Marc Spector actually told her, hey, can you maybe, keep an eye on him or keep an eye on myself, or I'm not sure how the conversation will go about, just to be sure that everyone is in line to this plan. So maybe that's kind of too convoluted, but I would want to think that if he's able to convince Donna to keep an eye on him while he's working and stuff, that could be one option. So you also get the street performer, all dolled out in gold, or all sprayed in gold. So this is in the credits you see that it's credited as Crawley. Crawley is a character from the streets, or who understands the inner working of the streets, or very street smart, who gets the information for Marc Spector and brings it to him. Sometimes it's directly to Mark, sometimes it's going to be towards Jake Lockley. So again, it's going to be important that this person may be the ears, if you will, of that area to get more information, and people do maybe come up and really pour their heart out to Steven once more. It may just be the street performer. However, to Mark, it may actually be a very big source of information, or it could also be to Jake. Now, we haven't seen Jake throughout the whole series yet. However, there was a moment where you see the 3 mirror. I don't know if you guys remember those. You have the main mirror, you have those 2 mirrors on the side. It is really to represent his own split personalities. Not split personalities, but his disorder, basically having the 3 identities. So again, having the Mark, Steven, and Jake. The 2 others, we won't see it for now, so that is Mr. White, so he's going to be probably introduced later on in the series. And you also have Moon Knight that we finally get to see at the very end of the episode. So I'm pretty sure either episode 2, or usually where things really kick into high gear, which is episode 3, we may get more of a backstory to who is, Moon Knight, how did he get his powers, how did he come to an agreement with Khonshu. But also, we may actually get to see that same exact day, but through the eyes of Marc Spector instead. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be fun. And it's not just these, cutscenes. Would it be redundant, though? I don't know. Put in the comments below. Would you like to see that? Would you like to see what we missed in the eyes of Marc Spector? Or would you rather just have that be a moment that was a split second kind of thing, and we move on to bigger and better things later on? Anyways, speaking of Khonshu, there is also the other Egyptian gods that get name dropped. I mean, he does blame the marketing team. You shouldn't blame the marketing team. But that all being said, the Marvel characters, the Egyptian gods are actually portrayed as Marvel characters too. So kind of like how you have the Norse gods and you have Thor, them being Asgardians, you actually do have these Egyptian gods being portrayed by Marvel entities. They actually live within the celestial Heliopolis, and it's a pocket universe, pocket universe within, we don't know where, it's just a pocket universe, and they come through basically through Egypt. Again, a big theme within the Phase 4, all about the multiverse, universes, pocket universes. So I think that's how we're going to tie in all of this to the 4th phase. Now, why didn't they interact with the world beforehand, or why haven't we seen them in the MCU before? It could just simply be because of, like, for example, the Eternals. It wasn't time for them to intervene. It wasn't their battle. It wasn't their fight. So for that same reason, they didn't come out of their pocket universe to do whatever. It could also be that they're trapped. So by all means, it could be also Emmett's that's been able to trap them or lock them away. It could also be because of Emmett's that they have to intervene. So this boogeyman now comes onto our Earth and is wreaking havoc or stealing souls. And now they're like, hey, you know what? We need to get Khonshu and the gang together and figure out what's going on. Anyways, that we're gonna get to see later on the series. Just keep that in mind that, for example, these characters do exist and it would be cool to see them. I don't think there's an Exodia, but I mean, hey, there is also 2 other characters I'm gonna name drop real quick, which is Layla. We see it within the phone. This is actually gonna be Marc Spector's love partner, and you're also gonna have Duchamp. So Duchamp is a ally to Marc Spector. I don't think we're going to see him within the series. We may just see him maybe for flashbacks where Marc Spector is left, to death and is basically picked up by Khonshu, and where there's the bargaining. So maybe in a flashback. I think that's where we're going to get to see Duchamp a bit more. So now let's get into the Goldfish. So in this case, the Nemo. What's important about this is not only the fact that we're talking about memory and split disorders, and that the Goldfish is known or infamous for having the shortest memory. However, I think they're discovering that no, in fact, it actually has a long-term memories, and it doesn't matter. I'm not Discovery Channel. I'm not here to drop some facts about goldfishes. What you need to understand is that he is also, so Stephen Grant is also on his own Finding Nemo adventure. He is trying to break away from the other four rather, and trying to find his own, trying to build his own life. That is also why he's putting these parameters to kind of figure out, like, hey, who else is, in this universe or in my head? Am I always in control? Who else is being in control? However, in the books themselves, it's obviously Marc Spector, the main character, or the main personality, if you will. It's really awesome that we got to see the beginning of everything through the eyes of Stephen Grant. I think if we had seen it through Marc Spector's eyes and then understood who Stephen Grant was, we would see Stephen Grant as this like whiny, weird, worm, as Khonshu's calling him, only because he doesn't want to be a part of that mission. He doesn't want to go and pursue the conquest. So in the books themselves, we do have that separation, meaning we do have Stephen Grant. There is a third amongst the other ones. So it's Jake Lockley. So Jake Lockley is supposed to be this cab driver that gets the info from the streets and so on. We haven't seen him yet. I'm sure we're gonna see him as things progress. I think it may overload the viewer by having all of these different personalities come out all at once. So to tell all that within 6 episodes, I think is going to be quite the task. However, so far it's been pretty great. I mean, this whole kind of like horror, bring out the monsters, bring out the things that fight the monsters, I think it's awesome. What did you think of the first episode? I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. And this is not because I'm biased, to a lot of Marvel stuff. I mean, this was very cool. Even seeing the comics and seeing this come to life, I thought it was just great. We are going to wrap things up and give us a final wave by talking about Atlantis. So this is actually a shop that we see in the background, clearly stating, Atlantis. Who resides in Atlantis? None other than Namor. Which group does Namor belong to? Well, I mean, there's obviously the Avengers, but he's also part of the Illuminati. So if the theories are true and the group that we do see in Multiverse of Madness is also the Illuminati, with Dr. Xavier and potentially Mr. Fantastic and everybody else. What's going to be great is that we'll not only have that little Easter egg for us now to bring it up, as I think Marvel is now noticing that maybe they don't need to explain or spoon feed everything, because they know like there's going to be groups and people that are going to talk about it and kind of bring it up anyways. So there's that one hint that he may potentially be part of the Illuminati. For the Wakanda Forever movies, I mean, it was definitely brought up to our attention that there is activities or underwater earthquakes, so there's definitely action going on, and it may actually be one of the catalysts or main focal point within that movie. So for Wakanda Forever, and as of yet, we did not get the Midnight Suns being name dropped anywhere. So we didn't get Blade, we didn't get Punisher, we didn't get Ghost Rider. It'd be great, it'd be fantastic if there's a bit of a name drop or like just a call to any of those characters. And speaking of characters, they haven't talked about Rama-Tut yet. I mean, one of the best renditions of Kang, or versions of Kang, if you will, through time. I just would be super excited, and I can't wait for them to finally, showcase it. Maybe we'll have a big party just to celebrate the fact that they brought up, Rama-Tut as the name. This all being said, guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, we definitely suggest you hit that like button. If you also want to subscribe, this way you stay on top at all times, anytime. For episode 2 and 3 and going forward, but we also have a really cool interview coming up with Brian Boss. You definitely do not want to miss that, especially talking about werewolves and creatures that go bump in the night, so you don't want to miss that. And so you guys take it easy. In the comments below again, what did you like about the Moon Knight series? What were you excited about? Did you go see Morbius, by the way? Anyways, take it easy, guys. Peace.